everyone, it's Jailan again. So I didn't want to leave you hanging and just have a little update and salesy uh, video. So what I want to talk to you about a little bit is give you some positive parenting holiday tips to help you cope with the holidays. So here are some ideas. This is a time of the year where, kids are asking for more and more, and there's amazing toys everywhere, and it's just, this feeling of gifts, gifts, gifts. So, what can you do to help kids have a little bit more gratitude? One of the tips I like to tell parents to try out is try to have an experiential gift. So, not a material gift, but think of putting together something that has to do with helping or feeling another person feel happy. So, a gift for your kid could be to actually go somewhere. Um, so, I'm telling my son our Christmas gift is that we're taking him, to see his cousins in Egypt. The flight alone is a really decent Christmas gift. But he's also getting a little something small as well for Christmas Day. But the experiential gift could be anything that the other person would appreciate. Maybe it's as partners you could make breakfast for each other, or have breakfast in bed, or the kids could make you breakfast in bed, or they could put together something you enjoy, or it could be a memory scrapbook, just something that's more of an experience. Maybe the kids want to go to the zoo. Maybe you can you do something extra special, like an extra special craft, like put together a volcano kit, or just something that's a bit more than a toy that they take and might even break within the next 6 hours or 12 hours. So think about that. Another thing that parents, face frustrations and challenges with is traveling with kids and having them in large gatherings. What to do? So one of the first things I always tell parents to do is talk to your kids. Prepare them in advance to what's going to happen. If you're going to visit people, talk to them about where they're going, who they'll be seeing, what behavior is expected of them, what they shouldn't be doing, and what they should be doing. So, for example, my son gets super excited when he's around other kids, but he's also very impulsive. So I talk to him a lot about and say, we're going to go to our friend's place. There's going to be this person and that person, and I name them. Do you remember them? There's also going to be some people you don't know there. And you can play with, these people, these little kids, if you remember them from last time, or I'll introduce you to some other kids you can play with. And I also tell him what's expected of him. So I say, okay, remember how we can play together nicely so that everyone's happy. No hitting, no biting, no pushing. But then I also have to tell him what to do instead, because telling a child what not to do doesn't also tell them what they can do instead of that behavior. So then I tell him, okay, if you're angry, you can come and tell me. Or if you want a toy, you can ask for it and say it's my turn, or I want to play with it now. And if you really feel frustrated and angry and the other child isn't listening, or you feel yourself, you really, really feel angry, then, just come to mama and mama will help you. So that's also giving him something to do, because he's only 3, so he can't negotiate. With older kids, you can teach them some negotiation skills and how, to talk about taking turns and doing stuff like that. Another thing is to be fair to your child when you're in a gathering with other people. I know it can be really embarrassing. It can be embarrassing if you're the host or if you're the guest. And oftentimes when kids fight over something, we tend to put our own child's needs aside because, we don't want to make a fuss, especially if it's a nice occasion. But you can very nicely and respectfully, if someone's hit your child or taken a toy from your child, or your child hasn't gotten a turn, with something, you can very easily and respectfully say to that other child, hold on, just a minute, this isn't okay. There's no hitting allowed for anyone, not for you and not for other kids. And we need to practice taking turns. We're all here. You're all playing together, and everyone needs to take turns and share. And that way it's a good experience for other kids and your kid as well. And that can be a bit touchy because parents don't like to discipline other people's kids, but we're not talking about discipline. You're not reprimanding, you're just stepping in and saying these are the house rules for everyone, very softly and gently. I mean, you're not punishing or putting anyone in timeout or doing any of that, so that's very acceptable. Another challenge we have is traveling and kids going to places where it's difficult for them and they don't have stuff to do or play. Again, prepare your child in advance of what to expect. Let them know it is going to be boring. If you have an older child that can talk like 4 and above or 3.5 and above, let them know, try to visualize, maybe bring a book about what it's like to travel in a car for a long time or in a plane. Also, either arrange yourself or talk to them about, if they're older, maybe 6, talk to them about what they could take with them that would be super exciting and will keep them entertained for a little bit, so they can be involved in that. Another thing, if you're going on a long car ride or a plane ride, is to bring together a really nice, maybe, depending on what your child likes, a craft kit or a coloring kit, or maybe small little cars, or just something that's new, not expensive, because you've already done Christmas or you're going to have a Christmas celebration with lots of gifts, but just something that's new so it keeps them engaged and interested throughout the trip as well, and something that doesn't require movement from them. Some kids really are into listening to music, so maybe headphones for kids, and then they can listen to some music as well. That's something you can do with your phone and your own headphones. They don't need to have something for themselves. They might even like to listen to audiobooks. That's also something else that kids might like to do. So just put together something, and if they're already used to listening to audiobooks, bring a new one or something they haven't used in a while. So just make sure it's something engaging and something that doesn't require movement. And speaking of movement, we cannot expect kids to sit still for an 6-hour, 4-hour car ride or plane ride. So make sure your kid gets a lot of movement before you go on a plane. So it's okay if they're running around. I know you don't want them to be running around the terminal, but it's okay that they're running around the terminal because you don't want them to be running around in the airplane. Think about that. It might be better to get that energy out before you get on that plane. But also allow, movement in the plane as well. Or if you're in a car, make sure you stop every while so your child doesn't get cranky because of lack of movement. It's very difficult for kids to sit still. I mean, they really need to move. If you can't schedule traveling around nap time, or even, waking them up earlier so that they sleep and have a longer nap, or sleep when you're traveling, that is also a good idea. So it just goes peacefully for everyone. So those are some ideas that could help you. If you have anything that comes to mind that you think you might have a challenge with over the holidays, let me know. Oh, another last thing is comparing gifts. If you are opening gifts with cousins or friends who parent differently or have kids of different ages or allow their kids to have things differently, that can be challenging. One thing to do is to maybe talk with other parents about what the kids can open together and what they can't open together. So if your child isn't allowed candy, maybe don't put so much candy in the stockings, for example. Something like that. Maybe just, talk to all the kids that they'll only get to open one gift. That's more or less that they could all play together then, and then they get to open their other gifts later. Another thing is to talk to your older child a little bit about that not everyone, parents, or not all families are the same. Families have different values. It doesn't mean that people are doing things wrong. It just means that people are doing things differently. And that's a very interesting talk to get them used to that now when they're young, because later in life, even when they're teenagers or in elementary school, they will see those differences. Maybe, they're not allowed to stay up late Maybe they're not allowed to have a phone. Maybe they're not allowed to have access to social media, but their friends are. Maybe they're not allowed to have WhatsApp, but their friends are, or vice versa. And maybe they're not allowed to date before a certain age, but their friends are. I mean, you're going to have these different family values and rules, as long as you're their parent and you're the one in charge of them. So it's an interesting conversation and one to have easily with toys and gifts and what's acceptable and not when they're little. So it's good to get started on that as well. So that's it. Like I said, if anything else pops up or comes to mind, just let me know, and I'll try to give you some nice tips on that. Have a great holiday, and yeah, I'll see you after. Bye.